It seems like every few months, Meghan Markle's name is splashed across the headlines once again, and this week is no exception. Whether you're scrolling through your social media feed, flipping through a magazine at the checkout counter, or simply catching up on the news, it's almost impossible to avoid the latest stories about Meghan. Her every move, every word, and even her silences are dissected and debated by the public and the press alike. But why does Meghan Markle, the Duchess of Sussex, continue to be such a lightning rod for controversy and speculation? What is it about her that keeps her at the centre of the media storm, no matter how much time passes, or how far she tries to distance herself from the royal spotlight? This time, the accusations swirling around Meghan are wilder and more sensational than ever before. The tabloids and online rumour mills seem to be in overdrive, churning out stories that range from the mildly implausible to the outright bizarre. It's as if the more Meghan tries to live her life on her own terms, the more determined some corners of the media become to paint her as a villain in an ever-evolving drama. The headlines scream with allegations, innuendo and speculation, often with little regard for facts or fairness. It's a cycle that seems to feed on itself, with each new rumour sparking a fresh wave of outrage and debate. But let's pause for a moment and take a closer look at what's really going on beneath the surface. When you strip away the sensationalism and the clickbait, what are these accusations actually based on? Who is benefiting from keeping Meghan's name in the headlines, and why are these stories so persistent? It's important to remember that behind every headline is a real person, with real feelings and a real family. Meghan has repeatedly spoken about the toll that relentless media scrutiny has taken on her mental health and her sense of safety. Yet the cycle continues, with little regard for the human cost. Here's the reality. Despite all the noise, there's absolutely zero credible evidence that Meghan Markle has ever harmed a child, or engaged in any of the outrageous behaviour she's so often accused of. In fact, if you look at her public record, you'll find countless examples of her working to support children, families, and vulnerable communities. From her time as a working royal to her ongoing charity work in the United States, Meghan has consistently used her platform to advocate for causes she believes in. She's visited schools, supported mental health initiatives, and championed women's empowerment. Yet somehow, these positive contributions are often overshadowed by the latest scandalous headline. Still, the bizarre theories and wild accusations keep swirling, fueled by critics who seem to have conveniently short memories. It's as if every positive action Meghan takes is quickly forgotten, replaced by a new wave of suspicion and doubt. The cycle of criticism is relentless, and it often seems to have little to do with Meghan's actual behaviour, and more to do with the narratives that certain commentators and outlets want to push. Social media, in particular, has become a breeding ground for conspiracy theories and misinformation, with armchair critics dissecting every detail of Meghan's life and spinning it into something sinister. Meanwhile, it's hard not to notice the double standards at play. Take, for example, Kate Middleton, the Princess of Wales. Not so long ago, she faced allegations of making a troubling remark about her nephew's skin tone, a story that briefly made headlines before quietly fading away. The same watchdogs who are so quick to condemn Meghan seemed far more willing to give Kate the benefit of the doubt, or to simply move on without demanding accountability. It raises important questions about who gets scrutinised, who gets forgiven, and why. Is it about the actions themselves, or is it about something deeper? Perhaps even about who is considered an insider, and who is seen as an outsider within the royal family. Isn't it curious how calls for unconditional love and unity in royal essays and public statements often ring hollow when the actions behind the scenes tell a very different story? The royal family is frequently held up as a symbol of tradition, stability, and moral leadership. Yet the reality is often far more complicated. Behind the carefully curated public image, there are real people with real conflicts, disagreements, and struggles. The gap between the rhetoric of unity and the reality of division is something that many observers have pointed out, and it's a dynamic that seems to play out again and again, especially when it comes to Meghan. Meghan's decision to set boundaries, to step back from the royal spotlight, to speak openly about her experiences and to prioritize her own well-being isn't a sign of obstinacy or defiance. It's a sign of wisdom and self-preservation. In a world that often demands constant access and endless explanations, choosing to protect your mental health and your family is an act of courage. Meghan has been clear about the importance of self-care, of knowing when to say enough is enough, and of refusing to let toxic narratives define her life. It's a message that resonates with many people who have faced similar challenges, whether in the public eye or in their own personal lives. If protecting your mental health and your family from toxic narratives is considered wrong, then maybe it's time we re-examined what we call royal values. What does it really mean to uphold dignity, compassion, and respect in the face of relentless criticism? For Meghan and Harry, the answer has been to create a safe and loving environment for their children, away from the glare of the cameras and the constant judgment of the public. They've chosen to focus on what matters most: their family, their values, and their commitment to making a positive difference in the world. It's a choice that many parents can relate to, even if their circumstances are very different. After all, setting boundaries isn't a crime. It's an act of self-respect. In a culture that often rewards overexposure and punishes privacy, Meghan's insistence on drawing clear lines is both radical and necessary. It's a reminder that everyone, no matter how famous or scrutinized, deserves the right to protect their peace and their well-being. As the headlines continue to swirl and the debates rage on, perhaps the real lesson is this: true strength lies not in pleasing everyone, but in staying true to yourself, even when the world is watching. Meghan Markle's story is far from over, but her example of resilience, self-respect, and boundary setting is one that will continue to inspire and challenge the way we think about fame, family, and what it means to live authentically.